It's a simple scene. Late at night, a brightly lit diner on a quiet street corner. Four figures sit inside, close to each other, yet strangely distant. Outside, the city is empty. No cars, no pedestrians, no sound. Just sharp angles, glowing windows, and silence. The glass wraps around the diner like an invisible wall, separating the people inside from the world. They don't speak, they don't look at each other, they simply exist in the same space, wrapped in their own thoughts. The painting isn't about a moment of action. It's about loneliness in a crowded world. And that feeling, that solitude, is exactly what makes Nighthawks so unforgettable. To understand Nighthawks, we first have to understand Edward Hopper. Hopper wasn't a painter of big historical events or dramatic action. He painted ordinary moments, but somehow made them feel heavy, quiet, and emotionally charged. He was born in 1882 in a small town in New York, and from early on, he was fascinated by cities, architecture, and light. But success didn't come quickly. For years, Hopper struggled to make a living as a fine artist, so he did what many artists had to do at the time. He worked as a commercial illustrator, drawing images for newspapers and magazines, and he hated it. He later said illustration felt mechanical, repetitive, and emotionally empty. But ironically, that job trained his eyes. All of that would later become central to his paintings. Hopper's style is instantly recognizable. His compositions feel cinematic, like still frames from a film that never explains what came before or what happens after. Look at paintings like Automat or Room in New York. In Automat, a woman sits alone at a cafe table, staring into her coffee. The reflection in the window shows nothing, just darkness, no city, no life outside. It's as if the world simply stops at the glass. It's not dramatic, but it feels intimate. Or Room in New York, a couple sits inside the same room, just a few feet apart, yet emotionally miles away. The man reads the newspaper. The woman idly presses a single piano key. No eye contact, no connection, just the quiet discomfort of sharing a space without sharing a moment. You see the same tension again in Summer Evening, where a man and woman stand on a porch, close enough to touch, yet separated by posture, silence, and whatever is left unsaid. This emotional distance, people being close but isolated, becomes one of Hopper's most powerful themes. Lighting is another key to Hopper's work. He was obsessed with light, especially artificial light, interior lights spilling into darkness. In Nighthawks, the diner glows almost unnaturally bright against the black city streets. The light doesn't feel warm or comforting. It feels exposed, as if the characters are on display, trapped inside a glass box. You see the same idea in Night Windows, where we glimpse a woman through a lit window, unaware she's being watched, frozen in a private moment that suddenly feels public. In Office at Night, when a sharp beam of light cuts across the room, heightening the tension between two figures who barely acknowledge each other. Even in Early Sunday Morning, where the light is natural instead of artificial, it still feels unsettling. Sunlight hits empty storefronts, stretching across closed doors and silent windows, making the street feel frozen in time. Hopper used light not to reveal comfort, but to reveal vulnerability. Then, there is his use of angles and framing. Hopper often chose strange viewpoints, cropped edges, sharp corners, off-centered compositions. In Nighthawks were placed outside the diner, unable to enter. There's no visible door. We're forced to observe, not participate. You feel this again in Gas, where a lone figure stands beside a gas pump at dusk, surrounded by darkness, framed by a road that leads somewhere. Or in New York Movie, where the usherette stands off to the side of the frame, separated from both the audience and the screen, present yet completely alone. This is where theater comes in. Hopper was deeply influenced by stage design and theater lighting. His scenes feel constructed, like sets. The characters feel positioned, like actors frozen mid-performance. But there's no dialogue, no clear narrative, just silence, posture, and light doing all the work. The viewer becomes the audience, trying to read meaning from body language, space, and what isn't being said. And that tension between what we see and what we can never fully know is exactly what gives Hopper's painting their lasting power. Behind much of Hopper's work was his wife, Josephine Nivison Hopper, or Jo. Jo was an artist herself, and she played a massive role in Hopper's career. She managed his records, kept detailed journals, titled many of his paintings, and carefully documented his process over decades. Much of what we know about Hopper today comes directly from Jo's notes. Most importantly, she posed as the model for almost every female figure in his paintings, including the woman in Nighthawks. From Automat and Hotel Room to New York Movie and Morning Sun, Jo's posture, presence, and physicality becomes the foundation of Hopper's women. Their relationship was complicated, often tense but creatively inseparable. Jo deeply understood Hopper's vision, and in many ways, Hopper's paintings of solitude aren't just observations from the outside. They're built from a shared lived experience. So, what is Nighthawks actually about? On the surface, it shows something very simple. A late-night diner, a counterman, 3 customers, nothing dramatic is happening. That's exactly why it feels so unsettling. The people inside the diner aren't interacting in any meaningful way. The couple sits side by side, but they don't look at each other. Well, are they even a couple? The man with his back to us feels closed off. This isn't a story of action, it's a story of stillness. Before painting Nighthawks, Hopper made several preliminary sketches, carefully planning the geometry of the diner, the placement of the figures, and most importantly, the angles. In those earlier sketches, you can see him experimenting, moving the figures slightly apart, adjusting the curve of the glass, exaggerating the sharp corner of the building. The diner in Nighthawks doesn't represent a specific real location. Hopper designed it to feel familiar, but anonymous. Art historians have tried to trace it to real New York diners, but there is no confirmed inspiration. Now, this is where the real theme of Nighthawk emerges: loneliness in public space. Surrounded by people, light, and the city, and yet emotionally isolated. The diner is open all night, a place meant for connection, warmth, and conversation. But instead, it feels like a stage where no one knows their lines. The glass doesn't just let us see in, it traps the figures inside. And we, the viewers, stand outside in the dark, watching. Nighthawk was painted in 1942, just after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. And because of this, many people have tried to read the painting as a reaction to the war. But Jo emphasizes this in her notes, stating that Edward never intended the painting to be a commentary on the war or the national mood after the attack. For Hopper, the theme wasn't about fear, crisis, or global conflict. It was about something far more consistent with his work. Hopper had been painting isolated figures, quiet interiors, and empty urban spaces for decades before 1942, long before the Pearl Harbor and the war. Paintings like Automat, Room in New York, and Night Windows already explore the same emotional territory: solitude. So while Nighthawks was created during a moment of national tension, its themes weren't born from it. The loneliness in this painting isn't historical, it's human. That said, timing still affects how a painting is received. Even if Hopper didn't intend a wartime meaning, viewers living through uncertainty and anxiety naturally projected their own emotions onto the scene. Nighthawks doesn't tell a story with a beginning or an ending. It captures a moment that feels unfinished, like time has slowed down but not stopped. Nothing dramatic is happening on the surface, no conflict, no resolution, yet the tension is there. The kind of tension that comes from waiting, from not knowing what's next, from being surrounded by people but feeling completely on your own. That's why the painting still resonates today. We recognize this scene not because we've been in that exact diner, but because maybe at some point we felt that same quiet distance. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.